All right. Once again, my name is Oluwaseun and I'm the community admin at Inclusive for Good. And today we'll be discussing about how to ace your next code challenge and technical interview, and to also talk about what technical interview is all about and what code challenge is all about for new developers that are just starting out, for intermediate developers that have been in the industry but don't have experience in code challenge or technical interview. We have two great engineers here today that will be talking about their experience on how they approach code challenge and technical interview. So we have Peterson Oyikena. Peterson, are you there?
Hi everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Can you turn on your video so that our community member can see you? All right. Can you briefly introduce yourself, please? Yeah.
Can you see me?
I can see you. Yes,
Right,
of course.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
hi everyone.
Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Okay, so I'm Peterson Oyikena. I'm a software engineer and also a cloud developer. Currently, I work at Topcoder and the Exchange FX. That's where I garner my professional experience, and I love to share my experience with community members as well, like here. In my free time, I mentor junior developers. I mentor communities. I also write technical articles to help engineers scale through the rank. Yeah, that's pretty much about me.
All right. Thank you, Peterson. Yeah, we also have Adefemi Michael here. Adefemi Michael is an ex-ambassador, an ex-Inclusive for Good ambassador, and it's good to have you back. Adefemi, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys.
If you don't mind, can you turn on your camera so that we can see you, please?
Yeah, it's coming up now. Yeah, can you guys see me now?
Yes.
Okay, so hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Adefemi Michael. Once a member for Inclusive for Good as an ambassador actually for University of Ibadan. Now I work as a software reliability engineer for Tint, which is an insurance company in Paris, France. Also, on my free time, I write articles on cloud engineering, DevOps, or what have you. And then also, okay, I'm not a fan of football. I'm a fan of what's it called now, car racing, which is F1, Formula One. Yeah, and then also on my free time as well, I watch movies.
All right, thank you, Adefemi. Yeah, we like it if you can be more audible. Okay, so back to the business of the day. Peterson will be talking about how to ace your code challenge and his experience about code challenge, the code challenges he has participated in, the likely code challenge that he has participated in different companies. And Adefemi will be talking about technical interview, what are technical interview, how to approach technical interview, what is employer, what are the employer looking for when they set technical interview, and the overall best practices on how to prepare for your technical interview as a software engineer. So we are going to start with Peterson. Peterson, what was your experience so far with Code Challenge?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shivam. When I was talking with Shivam, I promised Shivam to be very honest with him. So I know one thing, I'm a superhuman. Yeah. So interviews are very unpredictable. I mean, it could be if you probably have some more insight than I do. But I mean, the technical challenges basically are built to make you uneasy and basically see how you can probably cope in a real world scenario sometimes. They basically will help you do basically just help employers or probably recruiters assess your technical capabilities. They could probably help them identify your strengths, your experiences. Sometimes they are open-ended questions, and based on how you answer the questions, they can know how much experience you have in some tooling or in some technology, or how you probably would scale to the rank. I mean, in some respects. So basically, they basically help potential employers to have a glimpse of your technical experience. Okay. Should I continue?
Sure. Yeah. You have the floor.
All right, great. So I when I was talking with you, I told you, okay, I'll probably share with the community some tips that I've learned over the years that would help that could help you prepare for when you have technical interviews coming up. So we are fine. We have coding challenges that come up in technical interviews as part of ways of companies assessing your technical skills. We have code challenges. They could be domain-based challenges. That means probably if you are a React developer or you are a Node.js developer, companies might have probably a boilerplate project that they want you to fix, or they could probably have like a miniature feature that they want you to build, and they probably will want to see how you go about it. They probably will have edge cases that they want you to cater for, right? So we'll call that a domain-based interview or a domain-based technical interview, more or less. Then the next one will probably be a typical code challenge where you are given algorithms to solve. So the goal of this call is not to tell you the different type of algorithm that we have out there, but to probably tell you the mindset or how you should approach a technical interview. So one of the things that whatever, be it a domain-based challenge that you'll probably be tested on, or probably a typical code challenge where you have algorithm to solve. One important thing is to understand the problem, right? Understanding the problem can give you a whole lot of context in so that you don't waste so much of your time, and you can save more time and solve the problem according to what the criteria for acceptance the recruiter is looking for or your potential employer is looking for, right? So one thing could help is most times these problems have come with some little documentation, right? It could probably be a README file, or it could probably be some Google Doc file, right? It could be anything. Be it a code challenge, be it a domain-based challenge, they all have some form of documentation that you can read, right? So I'll probably say restate the problem in your own words after you have even read what those documentation says. So it will probably that's when you can probably it makes more sense to you, right? When you can restate it in your own words and it makes more sense to you. Look out for what are the inputs, right? What are the arguments that this problem will take in? I mean, every problem, be it domain-based or code challenge, has input variables or input data that you will give the algorithm or whatever feature you're building or whatever function you're building, right? So it's good that you know what your function or what your product is sorry, this one. Okay. Yeah, it's good you know the inputs. It's good you know the outputs. So you know what you are building is what you are building is taking in, and what is also expecting to receive out. So you know the input of your solutions and you know the output of your solution. That could help. Ask the recruiter for edge cases that you might not probably have thought about. Then before you start probably solving the problem, like you need to ask yourself if you have enough information to start out. It might be good to probably spend the first couple of 10 to 15 minutes to really think through the solution, and I mean think through the problem, and probably build a sketch or probably like a pseudocode of what you want to do, right? It could probably help you to know if you have enough information to start out the solution, so you don't get stuck, right? So and the important part of the solution is also good you label them, even if there's rush out in time and all of that, right? Now in your small pseudocode on your small sketch, right? You itemize and label those important part of the solution. That could help in writing down the solution. So yeah, so I'll probably say when starting out too, you also need to like learn to practice a lot before technical challenges. That could help. And when you are practicing a lot, explore a number of examples. Um, Start with simple examples because I mean, if you rush and go into challenges that might take a lot of time or probably like are really complex, what only happens is that they just overwhelm you, and you probably lose your enthusiasm for preparing for those technical challenges. So it works this way, right? You go from easy to more complex, right? So you don't start from complex examples and back to easy examples, right? So explore edge cases of those examples and see how you can write them in your own, probably in different ways, in multiple ways. So yeah, that could help you to think about it in a very broad sense, right? So yeah, a good thing to do is to like explore a lot of examples. Don't start off from the complex examples. Start simple, then gradually progress, and yeah, note the things you learn and try to like make them in different ways. That would help a lot. So now when you are in the code challenge itself, let's say you are in an interview already right now. You've done preparations right now, and you are now there. So because these things could be unpredictable, I mean, like you probably not know what you'll be expecting in terms of like the main test. The first thing to do is basically try and break down the solutions. I mean, after you've tried to understand the problem and you've gone through the steps that we itemize. That is, restate the problem in your own words, know the inputs of the problem, and know the outputs that will go to the solution. Ask the recruiter for any edge cases, and write pseudocode or write sketches of your prototype or of your eminent solution, right? Then you can start out. Yeah, but when you do start out, right, break down your solution into steps. So let's say you want to probably build build out a test out for a solution, right? One thing you probably do right now, what you probably need to like know, okay, what does this solution take? It takes in a number of variables. Okay, these variables probably do some algorithm that will probably, let's say, it probably do a loop around some data sets. Then after it does that loop, then it probably does some mapping of methods or probably some mapping of data, right? That's a step, and that's 3 steps right now. You have identified the initial inputs, you've identified what will happen when the input goes into the function. Probably it does a loop, does some data mapping. I mean, those are steps that you've already started working out already, right? And yeah, so you work out those steps until probably you have like the final solution or the final output that the recruiter is expecting, right? And in that sense, yeah, let's say you have 11 steps, and let's say the interview was over and you were only able to go about and do just let's say just 7 of them, right? It gives you some sense of fine, you knew what to do, right? You had the steps written out, but you were only able to do 7 of them because of the time factor, and that is okay. I mean, it happens a number of times in interviews. It happens to me most times when I do technical interviews, right? So you were able to. So it's more like saying that you knew what you were doing. It's not as if you were just scrambling just to go about the solution. You knew what you were doing, and you with enough time, you might be able to like crunch the solution, right? So when you are probably discussing with the recruiter and you can walk him through the 7 steps, and you probably walk him through the remaining steps of what you could have done. Because the goal of technical challenges most times is to try and assess the technical weight of the talent. Of course, time factor is one thing that they want to have an engineer or a developer who is able to work with time or work under pressure. Of course, that is true in the workspace as well. But I mean, it sells to the recruiter that this candidate knows the solution, understands the problem, and has been able to break down the problem into different steps. And with enough time, he'll be able to go about the solution, right? So one of the steps I've also learned to do is that if you probably have different, let's say you have different steps in your when you've broken down the solutions, and you have different steps. Let's say you have like 11 steps, right? Start with the simplest step. I mean, why would you start with the most hardest part? Start with the simplest part and work your way down, right? Even if you find out that, okay, you know what, there's one step in step A that might be difficult. I probably don't know how to map an object, or I don't know how to let's say I don't know how to go about this logic in this step 8. Yeah, temporarily ignore that difficulty, and find the simplest part and start with that, right? Of course, it's good to identify that part might be a bit challenging, but if you walk down your solution to that difficult part, right, it kind of helps you to, in fact, before you get to that part, you probably have some context of how to go about that part, right? And even if time fails you and you are not able to get that part done, right, when you are talking with the recruiter about the steps that you probably did not go and finish, it's worth noting that you could probably share them. This, I did step 1 to 7 or step 1 to 8, and I was not able to go about the last step because the logic wasn't there. And there's one thing that I found out that it happened to me a lot of times, because the problem right now is that most times you can discuss it with a recruiter, right? You could probably ask him questions, or you could give. Most times they tell you that they can give you hints and tips, right? So it's more like it's probably not the one man show, right? It's more like you're more like peer programming. You can probably discuss with him, this is what I would like to do. I would like to map this object so that I can be able to I can be able to independently get some individual data from this set, and this is why I'm doing this, because I feel I can probably do it in, let's say, the space time will probably be one, right, and N1, and that is the most efficient, and it probably makes sense to him, right? What you probably do is that you probably share you an idea. In fact, he might probably tell you that instead of going about it, maybe let's say going about probably nesting your loops, probably, why not do it in a linear way that probably will help you to save time and save complexity in your algorithm, right? I mean, those are things you can discuss with your recruiter. I mean, with your interviewer, more or less, because you are more or less pair programming, right? Once you know what to do, once you've had the steps written down, once you started solving it right now, it's about saying, okay, I probably missed out an algorithm. I probably missed out. I don't know how to go about the algorithm. But talking about it with your recruiter, like, okay, I want to do this, and I probably forgot the syntax. Yeah, and he could share you hints, and that's one thing I probably didn't realize earlier on in my career, that I could discuss with my recruiters about those small things, and they could give me a lot of context, right? So I think right now I kind of gave a bit about a typical code challenge, right? But it could be applied to even when you are doing, let's say, a domain-based challenge, right? You're probably told to write a React component. You're applying for a front-end role, or you're applying for, let's say, a back-end role, and you're asked to write an API, or probably, or let's say you're asked to, let's say, deploy a small infrastructure, if it's probably cloud rule or whatever it is. So, right, it's all about the understanding the problem, right? Breaking it down into your own words, right? Understanding all the edge cases. Ask questions. Are there other edge cases that I probably missed out? Know what the recruiter is expecting, right? So that you probably don't give off course, or probably off point rather, right? Then, yeah, once you can label your point, label your steps, right? You know what step goes here and what step goes here. It gives you a whole lot of context, right? Then you can now step by step, right? You can now like walk through your solution, and wherever you're stuck, it's a matter of like even discussing it with your recruiter, and he could share you hints, right, that could help you discuss. Because I mean, right now, like once you itemize your problem, it gives you it gives you a way to like even figure out how to go about that part even before you get to that part, that difficult part, right? So we'll talk about the exploring examples when you are preparing. Please don't start from difficult examples and try to like work your way back. It should be easy to hard, right? Then also like track your learning. Whatever you learn, let it stick. Don't cramp, but just make sure that you just like understand what is happening in those respects. So we also say that, and if you have enough time, that is true. If you have enough time, most times recruiters tell you that what could you have done better. If let's say you had enough time, what could you have done to this algorithm, right? I found that probably it's very possible that you could have probably reduced the space-time complexity to probably linear, instead of probably writing a nested object or a nested loop, or probably like something that will be quadratic in terms of space-time complexity, right? I mean, like we all strive for minimal code and efficiency, right? We don't strive for complicated and non-readable code, right? So one thing that could help is that if you probably finish your code challenge or a problem that you're building you have a lot of time, go over your solution and simplify it. And most times, your first attempt might not be great, but you can simplify it, right? And always, when you are discussing with your recruiter after the challenge, talk about what you could have done better when you had enough time, or probably when you had enough, maybe enough resources, right? What you could have done better. And if it's possible, write a simplified solution, right? There's no point making the most elegant code. We don't need that. It's all about writing code that works, and I mean, your first attempt, code that works, then later on you can make it better your other attempts. So yeah, I think these are some tips that I would like to share with you guys. Yeah, I've had many experiences of doing a lot of code challenges with companies, and some challenges. So sometimes it's a matter of saying when earlier on, it's a matter of when probably I didn't ask a lot of questions. When I was stuck, that took a lot of time, or probably I wasn't communicating with my recruiter, right? Or probably I didn't have, when I was asked what would you have done better, I'm probably too nervous or too disorientated to probably say I could have simplified the solution in some respects or better. So I'll probably say just try and be very conversational with your recruiter. Try and like understand the problem, really important, understand it very well. Break down the solution into smaller steps, and solve it with those steps. Of course, there's no point in like there's no harm in also restating the problems over and over again to try and make sense in your head. So I'll take questions if anyone has questions.
All right. Okay. We take question after Femi's section. So just in addition to what you've said, can you quickly mention some platform that developers, young developers, entry-level developers, mid-level developers, even advanced developers, the platform they can use to improve their code challenge skill, or where they can go and practice some code challenges?
Okay, yeah. So I use
No, go ahead.
I use is someone talking? Okay.
No.
So yeah, I mean, well,
No, continue.
when it comes to preparing for code challenges, like typical code challenges, we probably try out lit code. That could help. We also have HackerRank. I've used that. So myself too as well. I like to read, right? So you could probably like check out cracking the code interview. So I mean, most persons are not used, they don't like to read, so it's not a deal breaker, right? Um, yeah, I have a list of resources that I could probably just share. One second, I will just share it
Okay.
on the chat. Yeah, so for those kind of challenges, like try out those ones. They could help a lot, right? But when it comes to preparing for the one that are more domain based, so I'll probably say there's not really like a hard and fast rule on how to go about that. But most times, because it's usually on call, right? Or sometimes if you have enough time, they give you a take-home assignment. That is great. They give you a take-home assignment. You could probably like leverage the resources you have. I mean, you have GitHub. Like you could probably check out boilerplate templates to start out your code, right? I'll probably say, I mean, one thing that recruiters always look out for is like, if whatever, even if you build the solution already, make sure it works. Write a README documentation that works, right? Um, write tests, write unit tests, even no matter how small they are. Always include tests in your application. It will help a lot. I think I also in my free time too, I've also used like boilerplate templates you could probably use for um, those kind of interviews, domain-based interviews, which I could also share. So I'll probably say like GitHub is a good resource to check out like boilerplate templates for your domain-based challenges. And aside that, it's basically down to like your technical skills, like how well can you write it, how well can you write a React component with a front-end role, or how well can you write an API that an API basically like that kind of sells what that problem is trying to solve, that problem it's trying to do. Yeah, I mean that's what I'll probably say. But I will share the resource right now.
Interesting. I didn't know you there. So, okay. So, Peterson took us through. Looks like I'm hearing myself. Am I the only one? Okay. I think it's better now. So, Peterson took us through how to approach code challenge and the steps that are involved in taking code challenges. And he also touched base on domain-based code challenges, which is more of a technical interview, which Adefemi will be delving into. So after Adefemi's section, you can start noting your question down. We'll be taking question and answers. So Adefemi, over to you. We would like you to take us through your experiences with technical interview. What are the best tips in approaching technical interviews and the best practices? You have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you just confirm that for me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Yeah, so I think Peterson has made mention of quite a lot of things, a lot of good points, especially when it comes to coding challenge. I am not a fan of coding challenge, and I think I mentioned this to Shiv before joining the call because I have hard time. I have hard time going through data structure and algorithm and knowing fully well that when I join the company or when I start working on that particular with that particular company, I might never even have to use anything that has to do with, say for instance, data structure or whatever. So I kind of like I'm not a fan of it, but I'm more of a fan of technical interviews, getting like assessing my knowledge based on what I know or based on what the role is about or based on what the company because of course some of the tips I've used is one I try as much as possible to make research on that particular company. Research in the sense that yeah, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Better this way.
So
Yeah, we can hear you.
okay, so part of one of the tips I've used, like I was saying, is I try as much as possible to make research on that particular company, especially for that particular role that I'm applying for. So, say for instance, I'm applying for a software engineering role. Of course, when you see software engineering role, uh, language wise might be different in the sense that they might just put software engineer there, and then when you look at the description of that particular work, you'll be seeing that you'll be writing you'll be doing both front end and back end. They won't put like something like full stack engineer or something. They might just put software engineer, and when you look at the description you see you'll be writing React, and then you see you'll be doing Node.js as well. So I try as much as possible to look at the description very well before applying for the role, so that way I kind of like get an understanding of what I'm putting myself into, rather than just jumping into a particular thing I don't have any knowledge about. Another thing I do is based on what I'm applying for as well, I also look at the stack that company is using. So if I'm someone that is really good at React, uh, or yeah, really good at React, I believe with React you should easily be able to pick React Native up. If I'm someone that is good with Node, JavaScript, I should be able to understand how React work, understand how Node.js work, even though they are like different framework for different stuff. But I should kind of like get an understanding of how they work. So I want to look at the stack that company uses. So some people might put software engineer role there, and then they might be using PHP. I think there's a particular company I once applied to them, Wikimedia, and I didn't look at the job description. I just applied because they just wrote the associate software engineer. So I applied based on vibes and inshallah, and I just submitted my application, and boom, I saw that I meant to. Okay, the task they gave me was a JavaScript task, which was quite fine. But then getting into the technical interview part, I noticed that they were using PHP. So that kind of like just drive me off from what I was actually expecting from the technical interview they gave me and what I was going to see. And then along the line, they started asking about security questions. Unknown to me, in the job description, actually, it was stated there that optionally you need to understand security and whatnot, and I didn't look at that. So job description very important to read. Knowing about the company as well, this has really helped me a lot. Before I apply for a particular job or something, I read about that particular company, know their product, understand what they're doing. So that way, when I'm either having my first interview with the hiring manager or something, I kind of like get to speak on what the company is doing, and then that kind of like give them a sense of a feeling that okay, this guy is or this person is interested in our product or is interested in the company, because that way you've done your assignment, understanding what the company is doing, and then you telling them what they are doing rather than you waiting for them to tell you what they are doing actually speaks volume for you as well as an applicant. Uh, Another thing I try as much as possible to do is, so if I'm applying for a particular role and I notice that the stack they are using is also I'm not well familiar with that task, but I have an understanding of something that is related. So, say for instance, in my line of work, we call something infrastructure as code, and with infrastructure as code, Terraform is agnostic. There is Pulumi as well, which is agnostic, and then there is there are infrastructure as code that are like dedicated to cloud providers. So for instance, cloud formation, Azure Biceps, or ARM templates or something like that, which are like dedicated for a particular cloud provider. So if I know as a person, I understand Terraform more, and in the job I'm applying for, I notice they are using cloud formation. Definitely before the interview date, I want to like get an understanding of okay, what is like the core difference between Terraform and CloudFormation, how does this work, and how can I put two or three things together so that when they ask me question on CloudFormation on the interview, I won't be looking like I don't know anything at all, or like I don't have any idea of what they're doing. And if for adventure the interview is closer to what to me preparing for, say, the cloud formation, for instance, I think another thing I would just do is I'll try as much as possible to speak on what I know, which is Terraform or Pulumi or Bicep or whatever. Speak on what I know, and then give them a sense of feeling that with this basic understanding of what I know, I can actually use it to implement on what they are looking for. So that way, it's not like I don't know anything at all. Of course, I know something about IAC, infrastructure as code. I might not know what you guys are using, but I know something that is maybe far better than what you guys are using, or maybe we can even improve on what you guys are using. So that's another tip I think I have. And another one as well is also doing interview. Like Peterson mentioned, is actually a two-way thing. It's not just a one man interview whereby you are always relaxed or just waiting for the interviewer to kind of like dive in, or you are the one taking the lead of all the interviews. So you want to wait for response and then give a constructive feedback as well. And if for adventure there are some things you don't know, uh, it's better to kind of like come out and be like, oh, I don't have an idea of this, but I think after this interview I can look it up and get more knowledge of it, than for you capping or kind of like saying nonsense based on what you think might actually be right. So say for instance, you understand Docker or how Docker works, you understand Docker Compose, but you don't understand how Kubernetes works. And then they ask you a question based on Kubernetes, and then you are referring to Kubernetes as uh, as you creating it using Docker file or something like that. Then you are kind of like sending a bad vibe to that particular interview. Actually, I don't think you progress to the next stage because with that you've kind of like made mention of the fact that you don't even understand what they're trying to say. So more or less, try as much as possible to be clean during your interviews. Uh, Although there might be some times that you might put in some, be like me. I try as much as possible to make sure I'm making the interviewer impressed, especially when they ask questions. But if I don't have an understanding of that particular question, I also try as much as possible to tell them, I don't have this, I don't understand this, or I think I will make research on this. Yeah, you can also try that as well. Another thing you could also you can also do, another tip is so say for instance you are struggling with hearing your interviewer here. So your interviewer is asking you a question, and then it's better for you to ask them to repeat themselves than for you to kind of like cut your eyes based on what you think they might be asking, and then try answering that question based on what you think they might be asking. It's better for you to ask them, sorry, can you come again with the question? I didn't get that. Or I didn't get the question. Can you repeat yourself? It's better that way, so that way you understand what they're asking, and then you give them response based on that, than for you telling them, than for you giving answer based on what you think they're asking. Because you might be giving the wrong answers to the right questions, and these might be questions that you might know or questions that you're familiar with. Uh, Also, another tip that might be helpful is get certified. There are a lot of, I think there are a lot of free certification out there, and I'm confident, or let me say, I'm very, very sure that I4G also offers certification courses. I think I've been a partaker of one that have to do with Coursera. Yeah, so they offer certification courses, they offer online learning, MOOC courses, and all those stuff. So try as much as possible to get yourself involved in this, participate in all this, because at the long run they help. They help in the sense that for now I'm more of an AWS guy with a little bit of Azure. But there was a time I4G offered a course that has to do with Google GCP. I took the course, and now I can also speak about GCP. Imagine if I had let that slip off and I didn't take that particular course, or I wasn't active for that particular course. Then I don't think I would have that opportunity to speak on GCP as I have the understanding now. So try as much as possible to participate in online courses, participate in online discussions. Also, there is, I think the internet is so wide right now that you can't have an issue that there won't probably be an answer. Even if there's not an answer, there'll be something close that might help you. So try as much as possible to also use the internet, use your resources wisely, use what you have wisely. And there are also people in I4G. For instance, we have around 12,000, almost more than 12,000 folks in the Telegram channel. Ask questions, and I think people. I saw something about people liking others to kind of like ask the wrong question, so they might get the right answer. So no question is wrong, or no question is right, or no question is perfect. Just ask it how it comes to your mind, and then uh, like get an understanding of that particular question. Another tip or advice is do a lot of technical rehearsal or interview rehearsal. Let me put it that way. Interview rehearsal in the sense that if you have a mirror, you can put up a mirror, try asking yourself questions and see how you respond. If you're someone that fidgets a lot during interviews, try as much as possible to do try as much as possible to do like a rehearsal of how you think the interview, or you can have just a simple questions down and rehearse based on that question. I think the most important one is even tell us about yourself. That's like the most important one. You probably want to kill that particular question, because that question's kind of like goes a long way. So tell us about yourself. Uh, they're not just asking for your name. They're not just asking for, oh, my name is Adefemi. I'm a student from University of Ibadan. All those stuff. I'm a Christian. They're not asking for all those great information. What they want to know is tell us about yourself, what you've done, how what you've done kind of like sync with what we are doing, or how your goals or how your vision aligns with the company's vision. So try as much as possible. That's why I said you need to like do a very, very good background check on that particular company. Rehearse on about yourself, telling people about yourself, uh, off what is on your resume. Uh, because what is on your resume is just like a short note of what you know or what you've done. So you want to kind of like elaborate on it. So say for instance they ask me, I should tell them about myself or something. I try as much as possible. I try as much as possible to go far in the sense that I put in, oh, this is what I do, this is what I've done for this particular company, and what I did for this particular company actually helped maybe scale up our process, our deployment process maybe by 50%, or say by increase the deployment process say by 60% or something. So that way, I'm not just talking about what I've done. I'm also talking about what I did, how it affected the company positively, and then also move ahead and tell them about people interaction, how I've related with people, how I've led a particular project, and what was my learning on that particular project, if it was successful, if it crashed, why it crashed, did I learn anything from it crashing, how did I relate with the management, which is like my team, and how did I also relate with, say for instance, the people that I'm working with, the clients. So those are some of the things you also want to kind of like put in view when you are trying to ace your technical interviews. Uh, I think for the last one, for the last part of the last point I would love to say, for interviews, I would say don't be scared to apply for roles. Don't be scared to apply for a job, even if you're not fully sure about your how good you are for that particular role. I would say if you know 60% of what is in the description, if you are sure of 60% of what is in the description, then go for it. My current company I work with, I moved. I wasn't a site reliability engineer. I do DevOps on a daily for cloud ops and engineering. And then I saw the position, what was there. I have an understanding of what they are looking for. About 70% of it. I've not done any SRE before, but I've worked with some SRE folks, and I've also worked with some SRE tools. So I applied for the role, and then they started asking. Okay, they asked questions. The first interview was fine. The second interview was meant to be a technical interview. So what I did was I went back, studied on SRE. There was this book by Google for SRE. I studied on SRE, kind of like have a very deep understanding of how to manage incidents, how to report incidents, examples of incidents that have happened, and how Google were able to solve it. And during the interviews, during the interview, I just kind of like picked on what I've learned and started speaking on it on the technical part. And then it got to a stage, the guy was like, "Oh, have I read this particular book before?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've actually read it. I've read this particular book, and that's what I've been using to learn SRE." But the guy was like, "Oh, that's cool. That he's also reading the same book." So that way, I never knew he was reading the book. I just went ahead and just picked the book and studied it. But now, the guy knows I know what's in the book, and I also know what is in the book as well. So there's no way he was going to ask any question in that book that I won't give him a response. So what he did was he moved to a whiteboarding interview, whereby he asked me to draw a particular communication channel of how I would create an API and all those stuff, and how I would get logs and whatnot. So, and with that, given the fact that I've worked with all those kind of things in the past as well, so it was kind of like easy for me to speak up on, okay, this is the tools you will use, these are the tools you will use, the tools you will need to implement this particular issue, and these are what you probably don't need for this particular issue. And then we kind of like started, like Peterson mentioned, kind of like started from implementing it little by little based on the knowledge I have, and then kind of like build up the block till it got to a solution that even they themselves they've implemented and they are currently using. So that was how I was able to scale that interview. So imagine if I hadn't done my own research on how SRE works, or on that SRE book by Google, I would probably not have this job right now, although I'll still have my job, but I won't have this job right now. So research, make sure, if you are 60% sure of the job description or the tools they are using in that particular company, just apply away. There's no crime in applying. I think the only part you might have some kind of like issues is when you get this unfortunately message, which I think by now Peterson and I we are comfortable with. We are comfortable with getting such messages. So that's probably the only time you have issues and you might feel down. But even at that, you shouldn't let that stop you. I know someone that has actually been applying for a particular role to a particular company for I think 2 times, and the 3rd time was the champ for the person. He got the role. So don't let unfortunately deter you. There will be a lot of unfortunately. Unfortunately, there will be a lot of unfortunately message, but don't let that kind of like stop you from applying to other jobs, or make you feel like maybe you don't know enough for something. There are sometimes that and another thing, yes, lest I forget, trim your resume to what you are applying for. So, say for instance, on your resume you have React, you have JavaScript and whatnot, and the job you're applying for, you notice they are using React Native. But on your resume, you don't have React Native. Put React Native on that resume. So that way, because these people are very crazy in the sense that there is a particular bot that scans your resume. It won't even get to the hiring manager before they send. Unfortunately, it's the bot that will just send. Unfortunately, because the bot will look at your skills and say that, oh, there's no React Native here, and this guy is applying for React Native. It's just going to reject that particular. It won't even get to the table of the hiring manager before they reject you. So trim your resume to the job description. If you see AWS in the job description and you know GCP, but you have the knowledge of AWS, put AWS in the resume. If you see what's it called now, Next.js or Nux.js or whatever, and you have an experience with React or something, add Nux.js to that resume. Of course, within that period of time that you are applying and you are waiting for their response, try as much as possible to make research on Next.js, so that when you get to the technical part of the interview, you don't start saying nonsense and all those stuff. So yeah, that's like those are the points I have for tonight.
Yeah, and to our listeners, let me just give you some how do I put it? Femi and Peterson, they are fresh graduates. They graduated last year, and they've been able to work their way from when they were in school till after school to work their way into Fortune 500 companies within and outside Nigeria. So it might be a very good time to ask them questions on how they were able to manage building up their skills while they are still students, and now when they are out of school. And to say that Peterson is a first-class graduate from Oduduwa University, computer engineering. And
you keep saying
Adefemi is an all-time community leader, leads Google Developer Students Club, University of Ibadan, Black in Tech chapter lead, also Aggressive for Good, and countless other community like that. And they started off when they were students, and we have mostly students here on the I4G Circle platform. So you might still want to ask questions beyond how to ace your next code challenge and the technical interview. So the floor is open for questions now. If you have any question, kindly unmute yourself and ask your questions. Thank you.
Hi guys.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Niji. So my question for either of the what do you call it? Either of the
Speakers.
speakers, sorry, is basically where do I read somewhere that after doing tutorials and learning on your own, of course, you need what do you call it? You need projects and hands-on, to brush up your skills. So where would you guys recommend resources for projects to be? Because sitting down and thinking of projects can be quite exhausting sometimes. So please, if you have resources for projects or hands-on practices, aside from coding practices for interviews, of course, please share. Thank you.
okay. Probably I'll just comment on that. Right, Sharon, can I go?
Yeah, you can.
Great. All right.
You can go ahead and give your comment.
So I'll probably say, of course, like 90% of your skill sets will be gathered. Probably that's too much. Probably, I mean, a lot of the skill sets will probably be gathered from doing projects and doing projects, troubleshooting solutions. So, I mean, the whole trying to like make your project work or make what you are doing work, right? You probably cement your knowledge in those respects, right? And I'll probably say, I mean, the place that has the most projects you can build upon, right, is GitHub. Right? Probably go to GitHub, do a Google search. I mean, do a search, right? Search for any project, right? So probably whatever project that someone decides to make decide to make public. I mean, because I probably don't believe in like starting from scratch. I don't like that mentality. I probably like starting from reference. Like give me a reference that I can build. I can start building upon. Because I feel that in the real world, nobody starts from nothing. We all leverage on each other's ideas and try to build the most awesome product we can build, right? So no one actually builds from zero. I mean, that could help because building, of course, you can if you are awesome, you could build from zero and still get projects out there, right? But what could help you build faster? You could probably leverage your colleagues' projects, or probably check out my own GitHub, right? Check out projects that I've done there, and you probably feel that this is something you could start. Maybe you have an idea. Probably you build an e-commerce site that has just cuts in and just customers signing up, right? And probably that was what your tutorial project did. Why not add logout? Since you did sign in, add logouts, right? Add checkouts, right? Add products, add the categories of products, add those small features into whatever you're building already, right? Because you get to like do what we do in the real world. Because what we do in the real world is that we build upon already existing products already, right? That means companies have backlogs of features, backlogs of technical depths, backlogs of bugs, backlogs of features that they want to roll out, right? and that's what you'll be doing. You'll be trying to adapt already existing technologies to probably modern tooling, or probably like new innovations or new ideas or new features that you want to build out, right? So a very good one could be probably like, you don't really go too far. I mean, make what you have better. If you build a calculator in all your time learning it to tutorial, right? Make it better. Make it awesome. Make it, add features to it. Make it much nicer. Think about what you would love to see in your own personalized calculator project, right? That could help, right? For me, because that's what I mostly did when I was starting out. And I think till now, right now, when I probably want to learn something new, I look out for references. And that's because I mean, I probably feel that there's a lot of time to spend. Of course, don't rush the process when you're starting out, but when you already when you already have some level of experience, um, you might probably you can probably like leverage already existing projects, or probably boilerplates or references. And even this time around, like projects and documentations have easy starters, right? They have samples, right? One time I was going through the Django documentation, and they have like a starter project to get a hands-on on how Django works. And going through the documentation and installing it on your own machine kind of gives you a run through of how the Django technology works, right? So I'll probably say leverage already existing technologies or already existing resources that you have at your disposal. You don't need to go too far.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, Femi, would you like to add anything? Neji, are you? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Okay. So we are still expecting more questions. The floor is open for questions. Like, people are afraid to ask questions. All right. While
I don't buy through.
while
I mean,
while while we wait for people to ask questions, so part of the I4G Community Challenge is a code challenge. So very soon you'll be getting updates on our code challenge. We have a code challenge section. We often use lit code, and we start from easy, medium to hard, and there's always reward for the first person to submit their solution. So during the code challenge, you see the code challenge problem, you solve it, and write your solution using a GitHub gist. So I haven't submitted your solution on LeetCode and it has passed, and you submit the link to your LeetCode solution. You also type in your solution using a GitHub gist, and also write a step-by-step article on how you're able to solve that issue and your thinking process. Because we don't want you to solve the problem alone, but we want to examine your thinking process so that others can learn from it. How did you approach when you are writing an algorithm that is about sorts, that is about binary tree and all? So that is one of the activities we do during the I4G Code Challenge, and very soon we will be getting announcements on how to participate in the I4G Code Challenge. So we just take more questions before we go. The floor is open for the next 5 to 3 minutes for us to take more questions before we call it a day. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Okay, my name is Victoria.
All right. Good evening, Victoria. Good to have you here.
Yes, please, I've heard what he said and everything. Developer or whatever that you are, most times when you apply for something, they will keep on asking you, can you provide your GitHub account? And I know within me that expecting to see some stuff you've done, and then like maybe score you with your project and stuff like that. According to what I've been applying for, most times they ask for my GitHub account and the rest. So I want to know, how do I grace up this my GitHub account? Like, is it that any little thing I've done I have to post it there, or is it that there are some specific things these people are looking out for? So I don't know if you can really explain, break it down, or give me ideas on what I can do to resolve issues like this.
All right. Thank you, Victoria. That is a great question. Femi, would you like to answer that?
So she's saying at GitHub, if there's something else like because of
Okay, so she asked that oftentimes when she's applying for a role, they often ask for a GitHub profile. So, and what the recruiters are expecting is that they should see a code contribution and all that. So, she's now asking, what can she do to improve her GitHub profile? Does she have to push every little thing is writing, any little code is writing? Is it meant for her to push it to GitHub every now and then so that when recruiters are scanning through her profile, they can rate her based on her GitHub profile?
So for that, I did this hack. Sometimes when I was and this is the hack. See, these people, they usually don't. I doubt if there are some interviewers that are very crazy. And there are some interviewers that are
We can't really hear you from your background.
I think because you need to
Femi, I can't hear you as well.
How about now?
Yeah, there's some kind of background noise somewhere.
Oh, okay. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I think I know what's going on. So what I was saying was there are some recruiters or some interviewers that don't care about what is on your GitHub, and there are some that actually care about what is on your GitHub. But the hack I've learned so far is if you put on your resume that you know how to use Git, definitely they want to look at your GitHub here. They want to look at how you've contributed to say code or to, and you don't have to actually, you literally don't have to kind of like maybe make a contribution to a big project or an external project. It might be your own project yourself, and what you just this is what I do for me if I'm working on a personal project. I try as much as possible to use everything I would have done on an external project, on my own project. What do I mean? So say for instance, on an external project, you open a pull request here. On an external project, your pull request name has to be reasonable enough. On an external project, you want to assign yourself, or you want to assign your reviewer, or you want to put yourself as the person you want to assign yourself that particular project. On an external project, you want to make sure your commit message actually follows a particular guideline for that external project. On an external project as well, even more than the commit message, in the comments box, you want to make sure what you are writing on that particular project also makes sense. So what I try as much as possible to do is, when I'm working on a personal project, I kind of follow through this guideline in the sense that I'm not just pushing to main, or pushing to a particular branch. I open a branch, is my project here. I still open a pull request to main, and then merge from that my branch, open a pull request to main or master, whatever, and then merge from that my branch into my main branch. So I will advise, if you are someone that, another thing you can also contribute to is hackathons. Ingressive for Good actually offers quite a lot of hackathons, a lot. So try as much as possible to get involved in these hackathons, because this way you can also showcase something, even if it's just documentation alone. By documentation, I mean README. That was the only thing you contributed in the hackathon. But the fact that you can document what the hackathon is doing means you understand the problem you guys are trying to solve from that particular, from whatever you guys are building. So even if it's just the README alone, you can document, try as much as possible to get involved in hackathon, and then you can speak on that hackathon. You can speak on that project that, oh, I was a member of this. You don't have to tell them that you only wrote README, or you didn't contribute to writing the code. No, you don't have to go to that stress. In fact, even if you only manage that particular project on the hackathon, you can speak on that. Oh, I was a member of this particular hackathon. I managed this the application. Or I made sure I sent this application out to about 20 users for testing. The 20 users, we got 16 reviews or 15 reviews. From the 15 reviews, we noticed this was they were having issue with maybe usability or whatever. I don't know what project manager does. We noticed they're having all these issues. That way, they know that, oh, you have this now. Like I said, you are giving them an opportunity for them to see that, oh, you participated in this hackathon or in this project. You are giving them an opportunity to tell them that you have the numbers after participating in the project, in the sense that you sent it out to 20. They don't expect all the 20 to respond, but 15 people responded. Out of the 15 that responded, you got an idea of usability testing or maybe a particular feature that was having issues, and you guys have to work through it. Even though you guys didn't win the hackathon, but you had this lot of learning coming out of the hackathon. So you are giving them all this information, all these details, and then these are all the things they are kind of like looking for. Same goes as well for someone that is doing GitHub. Oh, I participated, I was a contributor to this particular hackathon, and then for this particular project, we used blah, 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 we used this, we used that, we sent it out, we came third for this particular project in our hackathon, and then what inspired us for this particular project was the fact that humans have been blah, 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 and then we noticed this particular thing is a pain point for especially for Nigeria, especially for this ecosystem. Now, you are giving them all these details in the sense that you understand what you are doing, you understand the project, and you also understand the foundational knowledge of what you are actually implementing. So, yeah.
Thank you, Femi. In addition to what Femi has said, another way to show projects on your GitHub profile is contributing to open source projects. Come October, we always have Oktoberfest, where there are open projects. Some of the top companies have some open source projects that is open to all level of developers. Even all around the year, there are open source projects. VLC, the popular VLC player that we use is an open source project. So join open source community. There's I4G Hackathon, there's I4G Community Challenge. There are open source projects all over GitHub, that we fit your skill set. So it might just be changing a div to section, it might just be changing a background image, just to know that you understand basic code structure and your knowledge of GitHub, just like Femi mentioned, you know how to send pull requests, you know how to review pull requests, you know how to write proper commit message, and so on and so forth. So you might look into open source projects too. That will help improve your GitHub profile. Yeah, does that answer your question, Victoria?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, right. Any other question?
Hi. Please, if the speaker could give us their GitHub account, so check it out.
Okay. Femi, your GitHub account. Peterson. your GitHub, yeah, your GitHub.
I'll just share your portfolio link. So you just check it out and check all you need to get it there.
Right. So guys, brace up for I4G Open Source Challenge next October. Also brace up for our hackathon. There will be hackathon during the I4G Hack Fest and also the Community Challenge. I hope to see Neji, I hope to see Victoria, Tabitha, Ezekiel, and everyone participate in the code challenge. All right. We're supposed to end this section by 6, but I think it was an interesting one, and I hope you all enjoyed this section. Yeah. So, in absence of any other question, this will be the end of our webinar today. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for taking your time to listen. Thank you for your questions and all. Thank you, Femi. Femi is far away in Kenya. Thank you, Peter C. Good to have you guys. Yeah. Do have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, man. Bye, guys.